Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And this article is an older article from T-Mobile's newsroom when the US Cellular and T-Mobile deal was first announced. But I wanted to pull up some of this information in this article and discuss that with you guys and then add on to it now that we are closer to this deal officially closing. You guys have seen the layoffs that were announced officially. US Cellular is already selling stores to T-Mobile. So you guys, like I said before, you can put two and two together and you should know what's going to happen. This deal is going to get approved. So I made a video recently. The title was I Am Concerned, for those of you who remember that video. And in that video, I said I wasn't concerned about the network. I was concerned about T-Mobile from a competitive perspective. I feel like they're not as competitive as they once were. Not even close, in my opinion. But in this video, I wanted to talk more about network, right? I'm not as concerned about the network anymore as I once was because they are investing and it's being seen each and every day. I'm getting sent new sites, right? Some I can talk about, some I'm told I'm asked not to post because of NDA reasons. But T-Mobile is deploying sites rapidly, very quickly, on a grand scale. Right? It's not like they're just doing it in a couple of areas. No, they're doing rural, they're doing the back roads. They might have not gotten to your area yet. And maybe your area is not of priority right now, right? T-Mobile is doing it with customer-driven coverage. If there's a lot of T-Mobile people going to the area, they will assess the area and they will act accordingly. But right now, they are prioritizing areas, right? Customer-driven coverage. And that's how they're investing. And they're apparently, from what they've said, they're analyzing this on a weekly basis. They're looking at tools and everything on a weekly basis, and that's how they make the decision. So they are building. And this US Cellular deal is going to add on to that. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So T-Mobile, as part of the deal, and I think this will be extended, is getting 2,100 additional towers that they're going to retain on a lease agreement with US Cellular. Now, US Cellular has a total of 7,100 sites. 80% of their total site count are sites that are 150 feet or taller. So I don't think T-Mobile is going to stop at the 2,100. The way US Cellular is set up, since they own those towers, they are open for business. They don't mind leasing arrangements on any of their cell sites. So T-Mobile has access technically to 7,100 sites. They just made 2,100 of those sites available as a part of this deal. But once that's done, I think T-Mobile will add and co-locate on more US Cellular sites that were not a part of this deal. So, of course, I'm speculating on that end because it's not officially a part of the deal. But why wouldn't they? Right? Just think about it. Why wouldn't they further lease sites from US Cellular? If they're already in the partnership, they might as well. And if US Cellular goes out of business altogether, then who knows? You know, T-Mobile might buy a couple of more cell sites. Who knows, right? I'm just putting it out there that I don't see it just stopping at least the lease space on just the 2,100 sites. I can see that growing over the years as T-Mobile gains traction on market share in those small markets and rural areas. And that's quite a lot, right? We're talking West Virginia, Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska. I mean, there's a lot of states that US Cellular is operational in that T-Mobile is going to be able to compete now, more aggressively compete, right, with network. Before, T-Mobile was competing with national marketing, with pricing. They didn't have retail. Right, people thought they could get T-Mobile. They couldn't because T-Mobile wasn't there. That's how T-Mobile was competing in those areas. But now they're actually competing with network, and even more so after the US Cellular deal. Yes, there's an integration period, so T-Mobile has to go through that integration period. There's no way they can just, one morning and all these sites are operational. That's not how that works, right? They're going to have to go through permits. According to what's being put out there, T-Mobile is already putting in permits for US Cellular sites to get on those sites. So that's already happening behind the scenes. So we just have too much right now out there to tell us the deal's approved. Stores are being sold. Employees are already receiving layoff notices, and permits are already being approved. Right? So the deal, although it's speculative because there is no official approval, it's a done deal. I said that in the video. I'll say it again. There's just too much action, too much motion that tells us the deal is done. Right? What else do we need at this point to let us know that the deal is done? So the synergies are important. The deal is valued at $4.4 billion. But T-Mobile gains a great asset, right? They get some customers, they get tower sites. It's a big deal for T-Mobile, and it's going to bring further competition to Verizon and AT&T. So I've said this before in videos long ago. There were some analysts that had the same opinion, but this network that T-Mobile is building will be the most competitive network that Verizon and AT&T will have ever faced. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that. There is not a network today from a competitive perspective that Verizon and AT&T have faced that's better than this T-Mobile network. Not Sprint, not T-Mobile standalone, singular, whatever has been out there in the past. Not one network has been better competitively than the one Verizon and AT&T are facing with T-Mobile. Not one. Right? And I'm confident in saying that because T-Mobile has invested accordingly. They've built out accordingly. Are they still making mistakes here and there? Are there still some areas that they're lacking in? Yes, that's still the case. We'll acknowledge that. But T-Mobile is on the right track, heading down the right path. And these types of deals, they let us know. T-Mobile is great at deal making. We got to acknowledge it. They're great at the deal making itself. They're great at the choice, the companies they choose to get in partnership with. We all saw how bad Sprint was at that. They merged with a company where the networks weren't even compatible, right? And we don't even want to get into that because that's a topic for a whole nother video. But not only did Sprint merge with a company where the networks weren't compatible or couldn't communicate with each other, they built out a technology in WiMAX that nobody else was using. That was another bad choice when everybody shifted towards LTE. Right? So T-Mobile is great at decision making. They know who to choose, who to partner with, and what's best for their network. So we have to trust in that. We couldn't trust Sprint. If I would have been making videos back then, man, I would have been letting them have it. Right? If I was so in tune with the wireless industry the way that I am now, with the people I speak with, if I would have been making video back then when Sprint was purchasing Nextel, I would have been letting them have it. Because I would have understood that the networks aren't compatible. And I believe people back then understood that those networks weren't compatible while the merger was being approved. So the best network, in my opinion, that Verizon and AT&T will ever face. It's gonna be a battle in those parts. Wherever T-Mobile adds new coverage, they're going to be able to compete better than they've ever competed before. Home broadband, right? So cable will feel pain in this too. And then in some cases, even fiber, right? If it's built out. But just wanted to share that with you guys. Those are just some of my thoughts that I think it will go beyond the 2,100 sites. And they have much more in store. So let me know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. See y'all in the next one. Peace.